Okay, Dr. Blackburn, you're more than welcome to get started whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining this training session. I guess a training session would be the best way to put it, over the ag demonstration contest. I'm going to share in just a moment a PowerPoint, and we'll go over a few things. But afterwards, I really want to be able to turn it over to you all, and either through the chat or requesting permission, ask questions. Ag demonstration is a really fun contest, but there's not what I would call a lot of moving parts. So I think from my standpoint as a superintendent, I think we might have a pretty smoothly run contest, even via distance. So let me get this. Uh-oh, it's not liking this. I'm actually not at home, and so I'm running off my laptop instead of my desktop, and so I didn't check to make sure I had all my screen sharing things ready to go. It says it's enabled. Oh, it looks like it's telling me I'm going to have to jump off and jump back on and quit the program and come back in. So I apologize for this, but I'll be right back.
No problem.
Okay, so I'm wondering how they see your face. Or maybe they don't see your face. Click the settings. Okay. Press the button. Just press down there. Okay, now click the three dots. Okay, see.
Hey, Dr. Blackburn, your mic is muted. Not sure if you're speaking right now. Hey, can I get everyone to let me know if they hear me in the comment section in the chat? Can everyone hear Dr. Blackburn? Okay, I can't either. Hey, Dr. Blackburn, I can share the PowerPoint here from my end. Do you want to just let me share that and maybe hop off, hop back on and with just your voice? Okay.
can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what that was because fun times.
Yeah, good old technology.
It's either one of them, either hear me or not be able to see what I'm looking at. So yeah, I guess if you can share the PowerPoint, that'll be fine.
Okay. And you let me know when it's up on the screen.
It is.
Okay. Is it still there?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so judging by the participants, we've got a variety of folks. It looks like several names I recognize and several names I recognize I know have competed in Ag Demo. So we'll kind of start at the bottom and work our way up, and we'll see what questions we have over when we are finished. You can go ahead and click it. You can go to the next slide.
Okay, I'm having some issues on my end.
Well, we'll figure it out. Well, the next slide was just a photograph of an old Louisiana demonstration train. Some of you may have seen this photo. I know I just ripped it off the LSU site, and this was just to talk about, depending on who the audience was, demonstrations in extension have been going on for a long time, and really you'd say is pretty much the foundation of extension. And it's kind of the reason we have this contest, to be able to highlight our members, our contestants' ability to show us how to do something is the way I like to kind of just cliff notes that. So we have a long history in demonstration and extension across Louisiana and really the country, and I could go into a whole history lesson of that, but I won't. So you can go ahead and there you go, advance. And we're going to talk about the Ag Demo rules for 2020. I've got a few tips, but really I kind of after that open it up to any questions you all may have. But as far as the rules, if we can go to the next slide, they're pretty much staying the same even with our virtual format. The idea is to show your audience or show the judges how to do something, how to demonstrate a skill is the key, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the tips. 8 to 15 minutes, and it's really important to note the point deductions for being either over or under time. 1 point for each minute up to 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, a 5 point for each minute. I have seen some really nice demonstrations get pretty much gutted in terms of points because of being either over or under time. And when we get to the tips, so the biggest tip I have with time is practice. The members have got to practice and know, obviously, sometimes things happen, there's technical difficulties, and if it's a technology thing, we try to do our best and not penalize for things like that might be out of the student's control, but by and large it's about practicing and knowing what's going on. Otherwise, the rules is, as far as you can go to the next slide about what's in bounds as far as the topic areas. I mean, it's as broad as agriculture is. Anything that's agricultural production related, whether it's livestock or traditional row crop type farming through wildlife, natural resources, really anything is in bounds as long as you are showing your audience how to do something, how to do a skill. Live animals, that's always a question every year. Can we use live animals? And typically the answer is yes. When we're on campus, I usually try to get those to go first, so it's maybe a little less hot than normal, or we can use the facilities over in Parker. With the virtual format that we'll have this year, I'm going to say the same thing. Yeah, live animals, sure. I mean, can be used if you're wanting to do your demonstration. In whatever format we ended up, and I'm not going to talk a lot about the actual specific virtual format yet, because we're still, I think, some of that's still being worked on. But yeah, live animals are definitely in bounds. It's just going to have to be with this particular year. I think the practicing is going to be the key. Having an audience somewhere, or parents, or school officials, or community leaders, somebody to watch your presentations virtually. So that you're very comfortable with the technology aspects of things and answering questions and knowing what your demonstration looks like in the frame of the video camera or whatever type of camera you have. I think that's going to be the biggest difference and the key, I think, for the competitors this year is being very comfortable doing this via distance. You can advance the slide. The biggest tips I have is especially with the judges that I typically get and their backgrounds. I've seen some really great presentations and skits, and I'm not telling you not to do that, but make sure the focus is on the demonstration and not the skit. I think, like I said, I enjoy the skits and the scenarios and all of those things. They're great. But you can also tell when the focus has been put on memorizing lines versus understanding how to do the skill. And that's going to lead to the next point is know that topic area well. Typically, the judges have a broad background, and the questions may be anything from pretty general to maybe pretty specific, especially if we're asking questions and we're really wanting to see, now, do the students really know this demonstration, or is this more of what I would call a canned skit? Maybe has it been recycled enough times that the students are more into memorizing the lines versus understanding exactly what they're doing. And it's really got to be a balance of both. But if you're going to really focus, I would focus on the demonstration and make sure that a good percentage of your participation time, between that 8 to 15 minutes, is actual on the demonstration. And that gets tough because there's a lot of very great, there's really good skills in agriculture, especially that broadly defined, that are simply going to take more than 15 minutes. And so picking the skill to demonstrate is no easy task, because there's also some really great skills that don't take very long. And so I could think of a skill like maybe, putting fly tags on cattle. After you get the applicator loaded with the buttons and the fly tag, I mean, it's a pretty quick squeeze of the hand, and that's done. So that may not be an appropriate one because it takes too little time. And that's just a random example that I just pull up because I worked cattle the other day. And then practicing, especially this year, like I just said, with the change in format to where we're not face to face. Practicing and being comfortable on camera, comfortable with the technology, and being able to answer questions and knowing what your demonstration looks like in frame. We'll talk about the questions. The more you practice, the more questions you're going to be able to answer, or your members will be able to answer from a broad audience. And being very comfortable with answering those questions. I've seen a lot of really good demonstrations and skits. And when the questions started coming from my judges, it was pretty obvious that the members didn't really know what they were doing. They just knew that they were competing in the contest. They didn't really know. And I know we're working with a variety of ages of youth, but that's going to be the coaching aspect. Know the rules, especially the time, practicing that time, timing yourself, figuring out what's most important. If you're going to cut, if something's got to be cut, my advice would be something that's not directly related to the demonstration itself. Like it might be more of like an introduction or something in the middle we can cut. Know the rubric that's it's not going to change from years past. And then the last one, especially from last couple of years, talk about safety with your members and have them talk about safety in their demonstrations and what are the safe practices of whatever they're doing. If they have tools with cutting edges, whether it's knives or scissors, what are the safe practices we need to be using there? If it's livestock handling, what are the acceptable safe livestock handling practices that we need to be aware of before we just start inserting in fly tags or castrating or whatever. Last year, I did stop a member who was being unsafe and made them stop what they were doing. And I'll do that again, even virtually. If I have a reason to believe that whatever's going on is an unsafe practice, I'm going to reserve the right to stop that so nobody gets hurt. And so really, like again, ag demonstration, it's a broad contest. As far as terms of what topic areas you can choose, and just about anything If we can define it in the world of agriculture, which is a pretty broad definition, it is inbounds. And so then it's going to be you as a member and your coach to come up with what is exactly that skill within that broad topic area that we can perform in that 8 to 15 minutes that you can know well enough to be able to answer some pretty broad questions, sometimes thought-provoking questions about what your topic area is. I know that was a short presentation, but like I said, I wanted to open this up for any questions that you all may have. Well, and you can type those in the chat. I'll pop the chat up, or you can raise your hand and you can unmute and ask them that way. Either way.
And just again, everyone feel free to drop those questions in or unmute your mic, but I am going to post this to YouTube immediately afterwards. Just having a little bit of issues as far as the connection with the rain going on right now, but as soon as that's uploaded, I'll make sure I share the links with you.
Robert, this is Hilton Waits in Vermillion. I have a question, and I don't know if it's, I'm not exactly sure who to address it to, but in regards to the kids' PowerPoints, I know in the past that we had to turn those in ahead of time because those all had to be downloaded to computers, and the state staff that was working on it had to make sure that they all work. But since we're not doing that this year, could maybe to help with some of the technology issues or things, could the kids show their video, or do we really need to do that, I guess is my question. Or could the kids, when they get on their team's meeting, they bring up their PowerPoint, and then they don't have to worry about taking over the controls of the screen?
Right. So that's definitely something we've been working on. I'm not sure if one of the tech team persons are here on the call, but basically there is a date where any submissions like the PowerPoints or the video uploads, that they'll be uploaded there, and that date is June 12th. The students will be up in Microsoft Teams by then. So there are ways to where the judges or the superintendents or the tech person, they can actually have it on display from their point, and the student can request control, and they'll be able to flip through the slides, so they won't have to pull it up on their end. It'll already be there. It'll already be uploaded. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
I'm also looking here in the chat. How long can the PowerPoint be, and can we have like a video playing in the background while we talk?
So I'm not going to give you, I don't have a specific answer for the PowerPoint length. The PowerPoint, you can have a PowerPoint, being flipped through the entire 8 to 15 minutes. So there is no real length on PowerPoint. The video in the background, I don't have a problem with that. I would probably advise you to practice that and make sure that it's not distracting either audio wise or visually while your members are doing their part of the presentation. But overall, no, I don't have a problem. There's no issue with that.
If we have bad internet, like at our housing, and the video cuts out in the middle of like the thing, will we have extra time to catch up, or is it like it cuts off at 15?
That's a great question, and again, it's one of those things that I'm going to do my best to not penalize any members for things that are out of their control. But again, the advice there would be to try to find a place wherever you're competing that's going to have the best connection possible, and that's just going to be the advice that that's just going to help make this virtual contest as smooth as possible. But that's also why we have our tech team member, and for this contest it's going to be Crystal, and we will work through that as best we can, and hopefully it's not an issue.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Easily post. Oh, sorry.
Okay, no, I was just reading there in the chat for you from Evangeline Parish. Is it okay to use an easel and posters and no PowerPoint?
Absolutely, that's perfectly fine. And once again, I would just with the practicing with the video equipment, make sure that whatever is being written or whatever a poster is already displayed is clear that the judges can see it if you're referencing it. But absolutely, yeah, it's fine to not use a PowerPoint.
Okay. So does anyone have any additional questions? I know we didn't go to the 2 hours, but we wanted to make sure that we ironed out enough time to where none of the trainings would overlap and that we'd have enough time to go into as many questions as possible. So
I have a quick question.
Yeah, keep them on.
If they are doing it as a pair, I mean, obviously I think they need to be together. That wouldn't be something you would have like two people sharing at the same time. They need to be at the same location, right?
Yeah, I don't know that we've addressed that specifically in the rules. I know that they can be in a pair. I would say if the parents and members and everybody's comfortable, depending on where we are as far as social distancing by June 22nd, I would say it's probably going to be best and smoothest if they're in the same room in the same camera frame.
Okay, good.
I have another question.
Yes.
Is there like a certain thing we should wear? Like, should we dress up for a certain theme on the skit, or should we wear like jeans? Like, what kind of clothes?
So that's a great question. And it's going to depend on what your demonstration is. And I would say I maybe not have a great term for this, in terms of like business casual or anything like that. I would say dress appropriately for your situation. I mean, if you're working with, say you have a live animal in it and it's a show heifer, I would not want to see you in shorts and flip flops. Being stepped on by a calf is not a pleasant experience if you're wearing flip flops. So in that case, nice jeans and boots and a button down shirt would be very appropriate. If your demonstration is something else, maybe it's in that world of ag engineering, maybe you're showing off how to utilize certain power tools. Then you would want to dress appropriately in terms of PPE or personal protective equipment. So it's really going to be a little bit specific to whatever your demonstration is. But I would probably always err to the side of quote unquote overdressed versus underdressed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What other questions y'all have? Great questions so far from everybody.
I have a question. If they need to do their demonstration outside, is that going to be okay?
That's going to be perfectly fine. And that's going to be, once again, practice that demonstration outside, make sure that the lighting is acceptable for whatever you're doing. The internet connection is fine. So from my standpoint, a lot of these things are in bounds. It's just going to depend on whether it's going to work for your situation. If you're at a place that you got a great enough Wi-Fi connection, within, however far from your building, or a good hotspot on your phone, as long as it's streaming well, that they can definitely, demonstrate outside. Like I said, I'm doing my best to run this as smoothly as possible with as open as we would if we were on campus. So outside or live animals, that's going to be fine. But it's going to be on your end. That's where the practicing and the understanding whether or not we can see, via distance.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Other questions?
If we have like a smaller item to show in the camera and we're kind of far back and it won't pick up on the camera, how can we show that item?
Yeah, that's going to be tough. So it's going to depend on what type of camera you have. Obviously, if you've got some sort of webcam or laptop, that's probably going to have to be you coming actually physically closer to the camera. There are like digital document cameras that have some zoom ability, but that's going to be, if you're working with a smaller item or something that's pretty intricate or detailed, that's again going to have to be the practicing thing. It could be that could be more difficult.
All right, thank you.
Other questions?
If we're doing something like, say it's the pet industry, because that's what me and my partner were thinking about doing, is the pet industry, could we do multiple animals? Like, could we do like a dog, a goat, stuff like that?
Again, that would have to be kind of figure out exactly what within the pet industry that you're wanting to do. If it was something like, if you wanted to show the correct way to, like, I'm just going to make one up, groom a dog, that might be all the time you have. But
Okay.
depending on what you're doing, you might be able to use multiple animals.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? I'm going to put most of you probably have it, but my email that either way it'll forward to me, but my LSU email is what I typically think about first. It is right there. And y'all can feel free to ask more questions or get my opinion as we get closer to the contest. I'll always do everything I can to help out, with as long as it's not, getting towards that line of where, as a superintendent, I think I probably shouldn't talk anymore. But as far as these types of questions or any other, maybe if you need help or advice, things like that, I'm absolutely willing to do that. But if there's no more questions, I mean, I know we had a 2-hour time block, but I'm really not about meeting for 2 hours just because I've got that amount of time. And I think with Ag Demo, the key is, again, I'm going to feel like a broken record. The key is picking that topic that you or your members either already know something about or are willing to learn about. Because for the most part, all the demonstrations I've seen over the last, I don't know how long I've been doing this, 4 or 5 years, the vast majority have been pretty good. And then a lot of times, I think what ends up being the separating factor is answer to judges' questions, and it's because it becomes real apparent very quickly who knows more about their topic area more deeply than some others. So that would be, I mean, as far as like the big overall tip, that's the one, is practice and get to know your topic area, your demonstration area pretty well to be able to answer those judges' questions. That's a decent chunk of points too. I'll leave it open. Any other questions?
It looks like that's it. The floor is definitely always open. You have his email there in the chat. Like I said, I will be uploading this to YouTube. I'll share a link with you, so make sure you have that, the PowerPoint as well. But you guys, thank you so much for jumping on. Be looking forward to updated links with these. I think our next training starts at 3 o'clock with Environmental Con. But other than that, you guys have a great day. And if you're getting rain like we are here, stay dry and stay healthy.
All right, y'all. Thanks. Again, seriously, let me know if you need anything. Y'all have a good one.